Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. Brené Brown. Carmen A. Rivera, founder and president of New Insights Incorporated, is a human performance development specialist, a certified professional coach, and a trained conflict resolution mediator. She has been facilitating adult learning since 1969 and coaching individuals and groups since 2001. She designs, develops, and delivers training workshops that stress critical interpersonal skills such as effective communication, emotional intelligence, leadership, team building, management, change and transition, value and workforce diversity, and sexual harassment prevention. Over 50,000 participants have attended her workshops from all over the U.S. and the world. Attendees have included CEOs, executives, managers, supervisor, and technical and support staff from national organizations, federal government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. She provides executive and personal coaching to managers and executives. Ms. Rivera earned her BA in Sociology and Psychology at the University of Maryland and a Master's in Education and Guidance and Counseling at Bowie State College. Carmen was raised in a Presbyterian household. While still in college, her father became a Presbyterian minister, a second career after serving 20 years as an Army intelligence officer. In 1980, Carmen joined the UU Church, Oakton, Virginia, where she took her two youngest children. The two older children were raised Presbyterian. Carmen began coming to CUUC in 2002. Back then, it was in a strip mall storefront on Bevel Road. In addition to being our speaker today, Carmen has contributed several articles to our newsletter. And in the April edition, look for her article on authenticity.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity for me to share my thoughts with you today. What I want to do for the next 20 minutes or so is to explore the idea of who we believe we are and how that matches with who we actually are. We think we know who we are. After all, we have spent a whole lifetime constructing ourselves. Most of us believe that we know ourselves pretty well. We've done what we think is necessary to feel loved and accepted and safe and valuable. But I'd like you to ponder the following questions as I move on through this talk. How real are your conversations? Are you consistent in the you that you present to the world? How comfortable are you in sharing with others what's important to you? And is the person the world sees really who you are? Just kind of think about those as we go through our conversation this morning. So I want to talk to you about what it is to be authentic, authenticity. So we're going to look at three questions. Question number one is, what is authenticity? Two is, why is authenticity important? And three is, how can you discover authenticity within yourself? We'll look at those three questions. But before we move to answering the first one, we were going to explore a little bit about how you normally show up in the world. Who is the who that shows up in your conversations with friends, with family, with colleagues, with strangers? Who are you really? And what motivates you to behave the way you do? Now you can say, okay, it's my upbringing and my values and how I was raised and all those things. So let's look at that, because the reality is that belonging, humans have a big need to belong. That's one of the primary needs of all humans, is to belong. And this is, Abraham Maslow did some research back in the 1950s and 40s about needs. And he found out there's a hierarchy of needs, and belonging is one of the basic needs of all humans. We need to feel loved, accepted, part of a group. We want to be included. So we learn how to behave so that we are accepted and loved, included in the groups that are important to us, whether it's a family or friends or school, whatever it is. We behave according to what we see is the way that it will be accepted, so we're part of that group. Another thing that drives us, that motivates us without us knowing about it actually, is that we have an innate tendency to conform to social pressure. There is a psychologist back in the 1950s, he did some experiments. His name is Solomon Asch. And he discovered what we would now call the Asch conformity phenomenon. And that is that as humans, we have this innate tendency to conform to social pressure, also known as peer pressure. We feel that if others are behaving a certain way, and enough of those people are doing that way, you kind of feel like, I better do that if I'm going to be part of this group, if I want to be accepted or loved or valued. I need to conform to the norms and the behaviors of this group. So, and this is placed on us as we are growing up and as we are learning to find out who we are. So let me give you an example. I teach some classes and workshops throughout the country, and sometimes I have what is called a simulation game. And one of the simulation games I play is called Desert Survival. And what that game is all about is we bring people together into groups, and they need to come to a decision by consensus. We talk about what consensus is, we set up the whole game, and then they're put into the groups where they have to make decisions by consensus. And one of the phenomena that happens is that if a couple of people push for their way of thinking and they bring others with them, those people who may have different points of views are often left out and think, you know, if I'm going to move on, if I'm going to be win this game, or if I'm going to be part of this group, I need to think like they do, or I need to agree with their decisions. So this is the peer pressure, the groupthink that happens, even though the person may not feel completely like they own those decisions. They will go along just to not feel left out. That's how important it is, this innate tendency to conform, okay? And as you can see it in many different things around decision making, in politics, in committees, in different places, people will feel that they don't want to be the last one out, so they will give up their original thoughts just to conform and get the decision being made. So why do we do this? Why do we conform even though it may not be exactly how we feel? Or why do we behave this way to belong? Why is that so important to us? Well, fear. We're fearful that if we show up truly as who we are, that if we share what we think, or what we believe, or what we feel and value, that people will not like us, that they will disconnect from us, they will leave us, they will stop loving us, whatever. So fear drives us to be like the rest of the people that we think we want to be like, that's important to us. I'm saying this because all of us have been conditioned from early on to behave in ways that make us part of a group. And sometimes that means that we have left our true self, some ideas and thoughts and feelings and behaviors kept within us because we're afraid that if we show up, we will not be loved or we will not be included, okay? I'll give you a personal example. In the 1980s and 90s, I did a lot of work with workplace diversity in corporations. And so I was really pretty much in tune with what racism looks like, sexism looks like, and how to help people move out of that mentality and out of that behavior. Well, during that time, I went to a friend of mine invited me to go out to dinner. We went to his friends, so I did not know any of the people at the dinner. There were 6 of us. And while we were having a lovely dinner with people I did not know, but was getting to know in that evening, one person made a racist joke. Now, I don't remember what the joke is at all, but I do remember that other people laughed, and I was just kind of like, this is not right. I cannot, this is what I work against, to not have these kinds of conversations and these kinds of thoughts about racism. But what did I do? I kept my mouth shut. I was afraid that if I spoke up in this dinner conversation with people I just met, that I would ruin the evening, that my friend would be embarrassed, that it would just be too difficult for me to be true to myself, because belonging in that dinner and be accepted in that evening seemed to be more important. So I chickened out. I was fearful of being my true self in those conditions. Being authentic is not an easy task. It really does take courage to do this. It's very difficult to do it on a daily basis, and that is what authenticity really demands of us. So let's look at the first question. What is authenticity? Now, I'm going to give you the definition by Brene Brown. She is a research professor at the University of Houston Graduate School. She's well known in all her research regarding vulnerability, courage, authenticity, and shame. You can look her up at TED Talks. I have a couple of her books, and I will be referring to her throughout this talk as well. So her definition of authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. Let me repeat that again. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. So authenticity does take courage to be ourselves, even in the face of fear. So it is, as Brene Brown says, it is your willingness to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. That's how she defines courage. So what does this mean to you specifically? What does authenticity look like for you? How can you move in that direction? Well, let me share a couple of points first. So being authentic means having the courage to break away from your patterns of behaviors that prevent you from being your true self. As I said, you've already been conditioned as you were growing up to be part of a group, whether that's your family or your workplace or whatever it is that was important identity group for you. So being authentic means to break away from those patterns of behaviors that prevented you from showing up and being your true self. So authenticity takes courage to act consistently with what is true for you, even in the face of fear or uncertainty. Okay? It takes courage to do that. Courage to connect with the core of who you are, your values and beliefs. So being authentic takes courage, and being authentic also takes the knowledge. You need to know, who are you? How do you show up? Is this consistent with how you want to be seen? Okay? So authenticity is the ultimate practice of letting go of all behaviors and patterns that prevent you from being yourself, and that is embracing. So authenticity is you embrace your strengths and your imperfections to create more meaning and purpose in your life. Okay. Again, Brene Brown puts it this way: the core of authenticity is the courage to be imperfect, vulnerable, and to set boundaries. Let me repeat that one again. The core of authenticity is the courage to be imperfect, vulnerable, and to set boundaries. Now let's look at the second question. Why is authenticity important? Well, research has shown that authenticity is intrinsically linked to happiness. You want to be happy, you need to be authentic. And when we are authentic, we are at home with our body. We like who we are. We're comfortable, as I like to say, we're comfortable in our own skin. We're true to our sense of values. What we value, the way we think, values is the way we act. So there's integrity in how you think and how you behave. You have confidence in yourself, because that confidence comes from deep down knowing that you are enough, that we don't need to add anything else, that you are enough as a person. And that confidence doesn't come from attaining or acquiring anything from the outside, but from the inner knowing of you are enough as a human being. And because you know that you're enough as a person, it allows you to give you the courage to be authentic. So it is important to be authentic for you to be happy. They're connected. So it is that ultimate authenticity, is that ultimate practice of letting go of all of those behaviors that got in the way of being your true self. Okay? So let's look at the third question. How do I discover authenticity within myself? What I'm going to do is share with you 6 ways you can do this and explore your authenticity, and 3 action steps that you can take. Number 1, know your values. What's important to you? What do you believe strongly in? Do you maybe honesty or family or connectedness or money or education? There's many, many kinds of values. What is of value to you? So know what your values are, okay? So that you can act consistently with your values. 2, know your passions. What makes you feel most alive? What brings you joy and fulfillment? What do you love to do? What can you feel that you can do endlessly? So know your passion. What's important to you? Number 3, know your needs. What dreams do you have that you may have pushed aside? What is it that you're not doing to take care of yourself? How are you fulfilling the potentials that you have? So know your needs. Number 4, know your purpose. What kind of life do you want to live? How do you want to show up in your world, in the activities that you do? What is your life's mission? Number 5, dwell in gratitude. What are you grateful for? Are you focusing on what you have? Do you recognize your glass half full, or do you look at the glass half empty? Focusing on things that you have and can be grateful for is another very important step of discovering authenticity within yourself. And the last step here is, the last way is empty your cup. Now this is from Zen Buddhism. The idea is, if your mind is filled up with other people's opinions and ideas and needs, how can you be true to who you really are? If you have no room in your soul, in your mind, to recognize your true self because it's so filled with other people's expectations of you. You allow other people to decide how you should behave and what's important to you. So to really be authentic and discover authenticity, these are the 6 ways. Let me go through them again. Know your values, know your passions, know your needs, know your purpose, dwell in gratitude, and empty your cup. Now, let's look at the 3 steps that you can do to be authentic in all aspects of your life. 1, quiet your mind. Meditate. Enjoy the moment. Slow down. Don't rush through life like there is a destination. We're born, we live, and we're going to die. So just enjoy the journey. Quiet your mind. Be in the moment. Appreciate the moment. It's very Zen, but it's very important, because when you're in the moment, you can dwell in gratitude. When you're in a moment, you're authentic. You're sharing who you are without judgment. So really quiet your mind. not that chatter, that monkey chatter that's in your mind telling you what is right and what is wrong. Just be who you are in a positive way. Number 2 action step that you can take is appreciate your uniqueness. Believe in yourself. Accept yourself. Know yourself. We are all part of humanity, that is the global. We're also part of groups. Those are the different cultures, familial, ethnicity, national. We are part of groups, but we also have a unique component to who you are. There's no one else exactly like you. So believe in that, appreciate that, value that. Let go of your self-doubt. Be your own best friend. Praise yourself. Celebrate the small successes. Look and work towards progress, not perfection. Don't judge yourself in the way that, oh, I didn't attain that, or I'm not good enough. You are good enough. You embrace your own uniqueness, including things that you need to work on, because you cannot work on things that you do not notice. You cannot improve if you don't recognize what needs improvement. So accept your strengths, accept your imperfections, accept your vulnerabilities, know yourself so you can navigate the world more authentically. And the 3rd action step that you can take is master your fear. Face the fear that you have, whether it's a fear of not being loved, or a fear of being excluded, or fear of public speaking, a fear, whatever it is, whatever the fear is. Step out of your comfort zone and do something that allows you to see how unique and powerful you are. Do things that stretches you. I will give you a personal example. I am not a big exercise person, and most people who know me well know that I'm not a big physical activity kind of person. But several years ago, when I was 67 years old, I think it was 67, I went on a trip to Costa Rica. Well, I do this every year, but this is the year that I went, and I did zip lining. And that requires a little bit of courage, because you're suspended on a wire from mountain to mountain, and you're zipping right along with hundreds of feet below you. So it takes courage to go on a zip line, and it takes a little bit of physical agility or ability. And I did not know how well it would be. So a part of me was a little bit scared about doing this, because I was older and I was not physical, but I went anyway. I did it. Even though there was a little bit of fear involved, I mastered that, and I did one of the, I think it was called the longest zip line on the Western Hemisphere, North and South America. It was 3 miles long, it was 18 zips, and I felt terrific when I finished. I could do this. If I can do something that I'm a little bit fearful, I can do anything. So that's what I want you to do. Think about something you fear the most. Maybe it's riding a roller coaster. Maybe speaking in front of a group. Or maybe it's writing something, whatever it is. If you master the fear, if you get outside of your comfort zone and you learn something new, in spite of that fear, you are taking a big step towards being authentic in your life. So the 3 steps for you to take to discover the authenticity within yourself is quiet your mind, 2, appreciate your uniqueness, and 3, master the fear. When you live from a place that believes that we are enough, that we have value, that we can start listening to ourselves. We can start valuing ourselves. And if we love and value who we are truly, then you're in a place to listen and value to others. When you do not put yourself down, when you do not reduce who you are, minimize who you are, but value yourself, you will be in a position to see other people as friends and assets, as people you can learn from, not enemies or people to be feared. So authenticity also gives you the great advantage of learning from others, of valuing others, because you value yourself and you've accepted yourself. And when you're authentic with yourself and with others, you're kinder and gentler to the people around us, around you. And we're kinder and gentler to ourselves. And that's very important. So take the time to discover who you truly are. It is your life. Live it authentically. Thank you.